Nice to have you with us on a Thursday afternoon. Hi, everybody. Yours truly, Christopher Russo. Broadcast day kicks off, 8 Sirius XM, late September, the 28th day of the 9th month. As we talked about what's going on in world of sports today, we got a lot going on, a lot happening. We look forward to a busy day. We got a good author on, John Eisenberg, a little bit later on the Rocket Men, about the black quarterbacks who revolutionized pro football. Good book. You enjoy that later. We'll talk to him. Plenty of Lion-Packer discussion, Cubs and Marlins, and, of course, the American League West. We'll spend some time on that today, too. And, of course, the Ryder Cup. So we got a lot happening. Good to have you with us on the great Sirius XM 82, 888 Mad Dog 6. That is your two-way sports talk telephone number. Colin Schmeling and Eddie Erickson are in the house. Now, if you wake up tomorrow morning, Eastern time, about 1:30, and put on either Peacock or USA, you can watch the opening of the 18 holes of the Ryder Cup in Rome. It's alternate shot right off the bat, four ball a little bit later on. That's the tomorrow. Same thing on Saturday. Then the singles matches on Sunday. The U.S. has not won the Ryder Cup on European soil since 1993. So a chance to redeem themselves here. Zach Johnson is, of course, the captain of the U.S. squad as we get ready for what is, I think, every other year a great event. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it. Rich Lerner is our pal from the Golf Channel. He is there in Rome. He's been there all week. We need to get an update. And good evening, Richard. Nice to have you with us, pal. How you doing today, okay?
I'm doing great, Doggy. And, you know, it's a big event in golf if you're leading your show with it.
How about that? And I've been talking about my golf all summer. I did lose a Challenge Cup semifinal on Sunday. 4 birdies on the first 5 holes of the back did me in with a 2 handicap. Got to the semis out of 68 teams. Did not like the way I finished. We were 2 up on 11, 3 putted 11, 3 putted 14. I was getting strokes on 3 straight holes and did not even get a half. So that bothers me. Hopefully not the same trouble tomorrow as far as the U.S. is concerned. And we should discuss lots of things. Let's start with the golf course. What can you tell me about this layout in Rome, Rich? I really haven't watched this week. I don't have much to feel. So give me a taste of it. Go ahead.
Quickly though, Doggy, though you didn't win, it looks like you played respectably and better
well
than your partner Stephen A. Smith did throwing out that first pitch.
That's a good point. Good point, Rich. Go ahead.
I mean, that was embarrassing, and I just want to say, if Taylor Swift and her Swifties run you out of the United States of America, Italy is a beautiful spot.
Boy, you are following what I'm doing. Good for you.
What are you kidding me? That was one of your all-time great rants. And honestly, I'm a little jealous. I'm out there with my poetry and hushed tones. One of these nights, I'm telling you, I'm going to lose my shit, and I'm just going to go full Doggy. I'm going to explode on Golf Channel one night. I envy you for being able to cut it loose like that. The golf course is a great match play course. You're not going to mistake this for Augusta National. It's not a classic venue, but it's a really good match play course, exciting. There are 3 drivable par 4s. Going to heat up late where most of the matches typically in the Ryder Cup end. 16 is downhill. It's less than 300 yards. There's water right, trouble long, a great little par 4. You could see eagles. You could see bogeys there. 17 is a par 3. And then 18 is the downhill par 5 with water left of the green. So, a fun golf course and perfect for the Ryder Cup.
All right, like Paris, in which they made it very advantageous for Europe, would you consider this layout and this course very advantageous for the European side? Let's start there.
It's a good question. I mean, historically, the Europeans would set up their home courses and the home teams entitled to kind of play with the setup as they see fit. They would set it up with the idea that America had the longer hitters, but they were not as straight as the Europeans. So let's grow the rough up. Let's pinch the fairways. The Europeans now are more Americanized. They hit it just as long, and in many cases, longer. So I don't know that it gives them any sort of distinct advantage. We'll see. On the European side, McIlroy launches it, doesn't hit a million fairways. Rahm launches it. Victor Hovland can move it. So I don't know that it's as much of an advantage. But bottom line, because the rough is fairly dense, you do need to keep the ball in play in the fairways, particularly in alternate shot.
All right, now, the fandom. Italians are noisy, I should know. We know home field is important in this event. I know these grandstands are huge, especially in that first tee box. We expect a very loyal and raucous European crowd for these next 3 days. How about that for a second?
Without question. And the Americans, look, you mentioned it, they haven't won on foreign soil since 1993. They have typically not performed well with crowds in their face. This is more of a sort of a football soccer crowd over here. They've come, I'm told, from 80 different countries. Americans have traveled. Here's a real sort of notch on your belt if you're a sports fan and a golf fan to go to a Ryder Cup in Rome. So you'll hear some red, white, and blue presence, no doubt. But it's going to be nuts on that first tee. It's 5,000 people. The players will walk up some stairs to a bridge. They'll cross the bridge. It's roughly a 2-minute walk down the stairs, and it's about 20 paces through a dark tunnel. And there's water just as you exit to daylight and thunder in case you can't swallow, because it's going to be insane on that first tee. And players have always said it's tough to draw it back. I think, look, with regards to winning on foreign soil, this group of Americans has a chance to stamp itself as a great American group and usher in sort of a new era. If they win, they can sort of validate that task force that was created in the wake of the debacle in 2014 where Mickelson took Tom Watson to task at Glen Eagles in Scotland. They will have won 6 of 7 Cup matches, including the President's Cup. If they don't, if they fall flat here on foreign soil, then it would be, well, what's the big deal with the task force? It's one thing, to win a Ryder Cup on your home turf, you're supposed to. It's one thing to win a President's Cup, you're supposed to. They have a great chance here. And when you think that they haven't done it in 30 years, just go back, Doggy. Go to 1997. They were playing in Spain at Valderrama. Seve was the captain, heart and soul of the European Ryder Cup for all those years. Tiger had won the Masters by 12. Davis Love III had won the PGA Championship at Wingfoot that year in your backyard. Justin Leonard had won the Open Championship. Phil Mickelson was ascendant. And that generation, Tiger and Phil, did not produce a single road victory at the Ryder Cup. So why is that? I mean, those two never galvanized their teammates in the way that Seve and Monty and Langer and Faldo, all the world number ones over the years from Europe, were able to galvanize their lesser talents on their teams. And that's somewhat of an indictment. I get that, as Jack has said, and Tiger, I think, echoed this, nobody really remembers what you did at a Ryder Cup. But that said, while majors put you in the record books, we all get that. Nobody's disputing that. A Ryder Cup can kind of put you in the hearts of your brothers and your countrymen. Most weeks on the PGA Tour, you might like a guy. Here, you love him if he comes through. Most weeks, you might respect a guy. Now you root for him. It's a different animal. And this group, though, that's led by Thomas and Spieth and Cantlay and Schauffele, minus some big bats that were very instrumental in the 10-point blowout at Whistling Straits. Talking about Dustin Johnson, who was 5-0, and Bryson DeChambeau and Tony Finau. This group, can lay down a new marker and a new era of sort of American dominance. But if they don't, then it's kind of business as usual. They can't win on foreign soil. And 2018, frankly, in Paris was an embarrassment, not just with the way that they played. They were ill-prepared for the golf course. Nobody went and scouted it, not even the captain, Jim Furyk, but in the way they conducted themselves. There was a lot of backbiting and infighting. Reed was pissed, and Tiger was gassed after the Tour Championship, and was just a sort of an ugly performance. So big opportunity for the Americans. I will say this. The Europeans, as broken as they appeared to be coming out of Whistling Straits, like where are we going for our next wave of good players? The stalwarts were aging out. Garcia, Poulter, McDowell, Lee Westwood, Henrik Stenson. It looked grim. But now you look at this European team, and they're powerful, at least at the top. And in fact, I would say, like you jump to sort of an assessment of what we're going to see the next 3 days, the top six on both sides are eye to eye. The top six on the American side, world rank average is 6.3. Top six European side, 6.8. So that's a wash. Where the U.S. has a distinct advantage is in the bottom half of the lineup. Their bottom six guys on average are 19 and a little bit in the world rank, and Europe is 51 and change. So that's pretty stark. But that said, you have some wild cards in there. This kid, Ludwig Aberg, you're going to hear a lot about. How about this, Doggy? Have you heard about this kid, Aberg?
Well, I know he's going to play with Hovland and their compatriots. I do know that. That's about it, though. Go ahead, fill me in.
How about this, dog? Now, you need to hear about this kid. He was the number one amateur in the world, number one college player. He played at Texas Tech from Sweden. He has never played in a major championship, and yet the European side thought so highly of him, they have chosen him to play in a Ryder Cup before he's ever played in a major. He just turned professional. As soon as he turns pro, he wins a European Tour event in Switzerland, shoots 64 the final round. He led the flagship event on the European Tour, now the DP World Tour, just a couple of weeks ago. Played poorly on Sunday, but led through 54 holes. He drives the eyes out of it. He's 6'3", 190. He is potentially a great player in the mold of a Rahm, maybe a McIlroy, a Victor Hovland for sure, and they believe so heavily in him. They're putting him out in a format that is brutal on players who just aren't ready to handle it. I'm talking about alternate shot.
It's tough. That's a tough format. Tough format.
It's a tough format. So they're going to put him out. But look, they're putting him out with the guy who's King Kong right now, Victor Hovland. Where did Europe turn? How did Europe turn so quickly from where they were 2 years ago when, as I said, they were broken? Well, Victor Hovland wasn't the Victor Hovland we see right now. He's, the last 3 months, the best player in the world. They didn't have Ludwig Aberg. Rory was in a rut in 2021. He's good again. Tommy Fleetwood was not the Tommy Fleetwood we see right now. He's 13th ranked player in the world. Tyrrell Hatton's knocking down flag sticks. They have plenty of pop, certainly at the top. But whether they get something out of Aberg, Bobby McIntyre, Nikolai Højgaard, guys like that might determine the Ryder Cup.
Rich Lerner doing a wonderful job. Golf Channel does a superb job on everything in golf. Chambly and all the fellas, we always have them. McGinley, we got to get him on one of these years. We haven't done that. But Lerner's been I know he is great. Lerner has been our stalwart. All right, 2 selections by the captains that we're going to keep an eye on. Lowry, I guess, was a very fortunate pick for Luke Donald. And everybody thinking about Justin Thomas, who, let's face it, was he 14th? Didn't do anything. Didn't qualify for a lot. And Zach Johnson took him. Let me get your thoughts on those two. Go ahead.
Justin Thomas was controversial because he just didn't play well. He didn't even make these FedEx Cup playoffs. He got outplayed by guys like Lucas Glover and Keegan Bradley. But he's a former number one player in the world. Match play is a completely different ball game than stroke play. Thomas has been great. He's been sort of like the American Ian Poulter. He breathes fire. He likes the heat. He doesn't mind silencing the crowd. There are just a few guys who get that benefit of the doubt. And they're the guys who've been number one in the world, who've won 2 majors like Thomas has. He got the benefit of the doubt, but he plays with some added pressure. There's no doubt about it. Maybe a little bit of a mini surprise that he's not out in that first session, although I think it speaks to the idea that he doesn't hit a lot of fairways, nor does his partner Jordan Spieth. That, again, is crucial in alternate shots. I think the other mini surprise here is that Brooks Koepka is not going out in the opening session. Brooks is an intimidator. Brooks is the kind of guy, I think, who would rise to the occasion with 5,000 partisans on the other side. And I thought it would have been a pretty serious statement had they rolled out Scottie Scheffler and Brooks Koepka. We may see them maybe in 4 balls in the afternoon tomorrow, but I thought in that opening game tomorrow that would have been hype. But Brooks is going to sit. The United States, Doggy, is sitting a combined 11 major championships.
Wow, in the first, 11.
Yeah, Koepka's won 5, Spieth 3, Thomas 2, Wyndham Clark 1. So that speaks to one of two things. It either says they're not in form, and I think there's a case to be made. Brooks played great in these live events, but I don't think he's fired up necessarily for that. We know he gets fired up for the biggies, the majors, and you would presume the Ryder Cup. Wyndham Clark's a little crooked off the tee. He popped off a little bit this week. Be fun to see how he fares. What else did you wanted to know about?
Lowry. How about Lowry on the European? But wasn't Lowry a surprising pick on the European side?
Yeah, but you know what? Look, Shane Lowry is a solid player, and he's been good the last couple of weeks. He's 34th ranked player in the world. I'm fine with that. And I don't know. You were going to go where? Maybe to Adrian Meronk, who won an Italian Open, Polish guy won an Italian Open at this golf course. But nobody has a problem with Lowry. He's playing well. He's very well liked within the team room. It's a loose group, so no, I don't think anybody has an issue with that.
All right, now we know that in the first 2 days, I hear the course is hilly and it's going to be warm, so everybody's going to get in the lineup no matter what's going on. Everybody on each roster is going to play tomorrow and Saturday, so when they go out there Sunday, they won't be out there cold. Everybody's going to get a crack at this in one of these first 4 sessions, correct, Rich?
No question.
No question. Go ahead.
I would say yes to that. You never know. I do think there are some questions around McIntyre, but I would suspect, because he's won on this golf course, we'll see him on day one. Højgaard also has won on this golf course. We'll see him on day one. I don't think there's any doubt everybody on the U.S. side will get run tomorrow. I'm curious if anybody will go all 5 this week. And I could see a scenario where Hovland, he's from Norway, he looks like he could cross-country ski for a month and not get tired. And maybe Rory, not sure about Rahm. You invest a lot, not just physically but emotionally at the Ryder Cup. And there's, we were bouncing around on the set tonight, which team prepared better. Paul and Brandel seem to think the Europeans are better prepared because their 12 all had recent competition. They played 10 days ago. They finished up the BMW, and they all played well, pretty much. Højgaard not great, but they all made the cut and they all played well. So they're sort of competitively sharper. Maybe they have that edge. But don't forget, the U.S., 9 of the 12 Americans came over for a scouting trip early September. They were sort of run ragged. It's a long haul through the heat of Memphis and Atlanta to the FedEx Cup playoffs, and the guys were drained. So I'm not so sure I buy that the Europeans are better prepared. We'll see. And there's one other point that I think is interesting here. Forever, I think what drove the Europeans was this desire to prove that their tour was the equal of the big, mighty PGA Tour. That started with Seve, who had his issues with the PGA Tour back in the early 80s. So he always had a chip on his shoulder. And it was sort of like, the Montes and Ruzis of the world who played in Cron-sur-Sierre and Stuttgart wanted to prove that they were the equals of the Furiks and the Leonards who played in Pebble Beach and Vegas. But where we are now is the Hovlands, the McIlroys, the Rahms are the backbone of the PGA Tour. They're the guys. In fact, the one who defended most strenuously the PGA Tour in this existential battle with Live Golf was who? It was Rory McIlroy, the leader of the European side. So, it's there's sort of a different vibe now. And one of the questions we all have is, can the Europeans, who are now sort of Americanized, they live in America, they're buddies with the Americans, can they, sort of reach back to those underdog organic roots?
Which helps.
I would suspect probably, what happens is, in the end, though Rahm lives in Arizona, he's a Spaniard. Victor Hovland lives in Stillwater, Oklahoma. He's Norwegian. Rory lives in South Florida. He's from Northern Ireland. It's like the Olympics. The national pride kicks in, and the crowd juices you. And I think there's just something to think about, just how things have changed. All roads now lead to America. The DP World Tour's satellite tour in a way.
All right, last thing, the Sunday lineups are interesting. I know a lot of it's going to be determined who's winning at that point, what's the standings.
Correct.
But how you utilize your 12 on that Sunday, that's where the captain really has got to make his money. I mean, do you prefer heavy hitters if you're the U.S. late in the day? Mm-hmm. So if it's close, you got Scheffler there at the end and folks like that, or Schauffele, Cantley, whoever that might be? Or do you like a spread out? You want to get off to a great start to gain a little momentum? Let's say it's pretty tight, and let's hope it is Sunday at 6 a.m. How do you want Zach Johnson to put his 12 together here for that final 5 hours? Let me get your take on that. Go ahead.
That's a hell of a question. I'm a fan of front loading. So if it's tight and you're the Americans, take the crowd out of it early, get in front, and then rely on your depth. So if you're front loading, that's number 1 in the world. That's number 5 in the world's Cantley. That's number 6, Xander Schauffele. They keep going down. Max Homa 7, Brian Harman 9. The U.S. has the luxury of depth. They could come with a Colin Morikawa, Ricky Fowler late and still be fine and feel as though they front-loaded it. I think that the harder job will be for Luke Donald if he's tied. Like if he's behind, he knows he had no choice. They have to do what they did at Medina in 2012. They were 4 points down. They stacked it early. They won the first 5 matches, and they engineered the miracle at Medina, or meltdown if you were an American fan. So, I'm still a believer in your best, lead with your best stuff early.
All right, and Lad, who is the one person, you're going to say Scheffler, Koepka, Brian Harman, who's not played in this event? Who's the one person that's got to come through big here for the United States for us to win?
Well, look, I mean, Scheffler can't, take a donut here. He can't go 2 and 1 kind of thing, or 2 and 2. He's got to play like number 1. He's got to go get. And I think, look, he's not happy with the way he finished the year. I suspect, the pride will kick in. And I know, people are sort of not as high on Scotty. Just for the moment, I suspect pride will kick in. The guy I think could be a real standout here, could be the difference maker for the United States, is Brian Harman. You think about what he did at the British Open, the Open at Royal Liverpool. The crowds were nasty over there. I don't know. That wasn't widely reported. And I mean, that kid shut them up. He handled it great. He is tough as nails. He's a smart dude. He hits a lot of fairways. He putts well, and he likes the heat. And he demonstrated that at the Open at Liverpool. He's a Ryder Cup rookie, but he's a seasoned pro who's on the best run of his life. And he's mid-30s, and I think he has a chance to kind of be the breakout star for the United States.
Now, what time do you got? You got to tape your shows. What time? About noontime American time? Yeah. How does it work for Rich Lerner this weekend?
We're live, doggy. It's called Live From. It's not taped from. It's live from the Ryder Cup. So when the Ryder Cup ends, tomorrow at, what would it be, 1, 2 o'clock, what is that, your time, then we go live. And then it just loops all night, or they might have re-airs of the actual event, the competition. But 1:30 a.m. Eastern time, that's for guys like us, you guys of our age. That means if we go to bed at 10, we have to hope we have an Avodart moment, where you got to get up and go. You got to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Then you're like, all right,
5 or 6 times.
Huh?
Yes, sir. 5 or 6
Right?
times. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Don't take one of those gummies tonight. You want to?
No gummies tonight. I will get up. I will definitely be up early. I won't watch the first session. I mean, I'll get up at 5:30, and I will put it on right away. I will be on top of the second session, and I will probably do the same thing on Saturday. Sunday, I'm there right at 6 a.m. I mean, so what time is the first what time is the first tea time Sunday morning?
I should know that, and I don't have it with me. It's early, probably be 7 Eastern time. And it's football Sunday. I think back to what Paul Azinger, who won in 2008, he was a great captain for the United States. He said, the Ryder Cup is more like football than golf. And he wanted his players to be patriots and not just players. You're putting the red, white, and blue on. So your buddies, they all stoked for this? Is it?
Yeah, look at all my buddies are. Yeah, oh, yes. So I got all my friends ready to go. I'll be on top of it. I'll try to get golf in. See, what I'll do is I'll be inspired maybe Saturday, and I'll go out there in the afternoon to see if I can not three-putt 9,000 greens and be on top of it. So I will be ready to go. I will watch you like a hawk. So you knock them dead. You have a good weekend. Good to have you with. Thanks. Great spot, Rich. You gave me everything I needed. I really appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Appreciate Kazi. He's got it. We're right back.